Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, an entitled Karen called the police on my grandpa for parking his beloved car in our driveway. She claims it's an abandoned wreck and then proceeds to destroy it with a baseball bat. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the stories. My grandpa got into a huge fight with the HOA president, all for parking a car in his own driveway. From the stories I heard, this HOA president is what some people call a busybody, which means he likes to be in everybody else's business. He thinks that his position makes him like an actual president and he should get praised for just existing. I never heard a single thing that he did good for the neighborhood and instead just complains about how he liked to bother people about everything. One thing my grandpa loves is Halloween, and I help him every year to decorate, and he likes to go all out with those animatronics that move and scream. When I was over there helping him out, I noticed that the HOA president came over and started talking to my grandpa, so I walked over wanting to know what was going on. I knew that it was never going to be something good, so even though he doesn't need it, I wanted to be the backup for grandpa. HOA president said, "You cannot put up these horrible decorations. We made a change to the bylaws, and for the sake of the children, only decorations that are family friendly may be put up. Things like cute ghosts and happy pumpkins. Not this filth that will corrupt them." Grandpa, fine, I will take them down for now, but I'm going to be at the next meeting about this. Telling people what they can and cannot be doing for a holiday? It was not like I was showing nudity or anything. HOA, one more thing while I'm here. That piece of junk in your driveway will have to go. Grandpa, absolutely not. There's nothing you can put in those bylaws of yours that legally allows you to take my car. HOA, car? This is an artifact and should be in a scrapyard or a museum. He left after another warning and my grandpa was fuming. I helped him take down the decorations while he was still muttering that he was not going to let them push him around with the car. My grandpa had a 1961 Lincoln Continental in amazing condition. He loved classic cars and spent most of his retirement maintaining and taking care of it. It was very clear that a nerve was struck when he was told to get rid of it. It was my first actual taste of how bad the HOA president was outside of the stories. Face to face, I can tell you that the man was sleazy. Remember when I said he acted like he was a real president? At that moment I felt like he gave off a vibe like he was some kind of king and we were the peasants. My grandpa, of course, did not get rid of his car despite more fights about it. We looked into the rules and there was nothing saying that his car could not be parked. Only cars that were abandoned and a wreck could be forcibly removed since they were apparently dangerous if kids got near them or something like that. Even that sounded like an excuse and we knew he just wanted the area to look good with neighbors driving things from BMWs to new Tesla cars. Still, had this guy never heard of a hobby before? The HOA president decided that he was not going to take no for an answer, and on a day that nobody was at the house, he took a baseball bat to the car. He smashed it horribly with glass everywhere, tires popped and dented beyond anything else. Even the seats were shredded and the assumption was that he took a knife to the inside that he could reach. I think he assumed old men did not have video surveillance, but I had installed it for him since he lived alone and I worried about him. I could not see any knife though, but it was clear him attacking the car with a bat. We did not get to see the state of the car firsthand though, because he called a tow company claiming that now it was within the HOA rules to get it towed to a scrapyard. When we watched the video back the next day after seeing an empty driveway, I could feel my grandpa's heart break. I knew nothing would comfort him, but I told him that I promised we would sue the HOA president personally for what he did to his property. We filed a lawsuit and things looked good on our side. Still though, the butthole walked into court like he was gonna win because nobody could touch him. He was in for a big surprise when the facts of everything were placed right in front of him. The first thing was the video that clearly showed him destroying the car and then standing there directing the tow truck, aka his friend, to take it away. Even the tow company gave a statement saying that he was the one who called. It was weird because he still did not look very worried much about this. Obviously my grandpa's lawyer thought it was strange too and questioned him. "Lawyer, you seem very calm for a man who seems to have just been caught destroying that car." HOA, "That car was a piece of crap anyway. It could not have been worth more than $20 in scraps, so I find this whole thing kind of amusing." Lawyer, "You must not know much about cars." What you destroyed right there was a 1961 Lincoln Continental that was in pristine condition. In fact, I have an appraisal that was done on this vehicle a month before you destroyed it for $40,000. Now he was scared and trying to say that there must have been some kind of mistake. Suddenly he was trying to claim it was not him in the video or that the appraisal must have been wrong. He had destroyed property and really thought he was gonna get away with it scot-free. He was ordered to pay my grandpa the full amount from the appraisal. At first he wanted to do it through the HOA, but since it was a personal matter, he was gonna have to pay it himself. He did not have that much money and was forced to start selling stuff in order to pay it off. The main thing he had to sell, ironically, was his very own car. At the end, he did not have any money and was forced to get a cheap beat-up looking car again. I wish that he never did any of it, but to see him having daily embarrassment from having that car is a little satisfying. Also, the HOA board got rid of him, but the public line was that he was choosing to step down and give somebody else a chance after he was in charge for so long. I had asked my grandpa the reason he had the car appraised because I never thought it would be something he wanted to sell. He told me that he was planning on selling it in order to help pay for my college. I had just graduated the summer before, but due to money did not end up going anywhere despite my grades being good enough to get me in. I have more love and respect for my grandpa than anything else, and the thought of somebody trying to bully him makes me furious. At this point in time, I have started college and my grandpa is using the money he got from the HOA president to help me pay. I hope that I can get a good job and somehow pay him back one day. Also, the stupid Halloween rules were taken away, so this year we can decorate as scary as we want. And yeah, Ripe Stars, some HOAs just think that they can get away with bullying HOA members or in general people from the neighborhood, but at least in this case OP and his grandpa showed them that that is not how it's done. The next one was posted on r/Ripe Stories and it starts like this. This happened not too long ago, names have been changed. So I work in a company helping mentally and physically handicapped people. I mostly work at a group home. There are 3 participants that live there and usually 2 or 3 staff on the AM shift. The participants like to sleep in or stay in their rooms for a good chunk of the day. We have to be careful not to push them too hard, they can easily lose their temper. One has even been known to break things. He has even broke 2 pairs of glasses and 2 cell phones since I have worked there in 5 months. Other than that, the participants can be the sweetest guys. I was getting ready to clean up the living room when the lead worker suggested we prompt the participants to do the cleaning. So I did as I was told. 2 weeks ago, about 10 to 20 minutes after the shift started, the newer staff was acting as if he were in a rush, kind of agitated. I will call him Guy, even though I can think of a better fitting name. Guy rushed into Ned's room and said, "You need to take a shower so we can go into town." Ned said, "I don't feel like going into town right now." Guy, "You need to take a shower so we can go into town." "I'll get you a pop." This went on until Ned snapped and yelled, "No!" The guy walked out of the room and the lead worker Lee was sitting down and very nicely said, "Please don't push them into doing things they don't want to do. It will cause behaviors." Guy, "You need to push them to do things or they won't do anything." Lee is still as nice as before. "Please don't push them, it will just cause behaviors." That went back and forth several times before Guy sat down on the other side of the room and said, "I just don't have any respect for people who sit on their fat ass all day and do nothing." Lee raised his voice just a little and repeated not to push the participants. Guy then repeated his thing. It was then that I spoke up and said, "Lee is one of the hardest workers here that I've ever seen." Which was obviously true. Guy turned his attention to me and yelled, "You're the worst human being I've ever met in my life." He yelled other things and curses at me. I got up and headed out the door. I heard Guy gleefully say, "Bye." I went to the driveway, put my breakfast on my car and dialed the scheduler to tell her about Guy and to ask permission to go home for the day. I got the answering machine and I then dialed the boss. Same thing. The guy came out of the house yelling at me and cursing even more. He stepped on my foot and was waving the binder of the participant I was in charge of helping. It had the different programs we were supposed to run with each participant. The guy yelled and cussed. "We are supposed to prompt these people to do these effing programs, and if they don't do them, we are supposed to do it for them. You're letting them live in filth." After he cussed me out some more, I told him, "Get out of my face." He cussed me out some more and then he went back inside. I then tried the boss again and this time I reached him as I was talking to him about Guy. Guy came back, leaned in close to me, cussed me out even more and said, "I'm out of here, I'm leaving." He got in his car and left. I told the boss I never wanted to work with him again. Later, Lee talked to the boss too. After checking to see if the 3 participants and that Lee and I were both okay, I talked with Lee. I said, "It's a good thing I took my depression meds, but I'll probably be feeling that when they lose the effect. I have suffered from depression for a few years now. And it only got worse after my dad has recently passed, which Guy knew." Then I added, "It's weird how Guy stopped yelling at you and started going after me when I defended you." Lee, "Yeah, I've always had a bad vibe from him. He probably never liked me because I'm gay." I talked to the boss about him. The next week I was happy that I had not seen Guy even on Tuesday, which was one of his normal days. However, on Thursday he showed up outside the house and Ned was ticked off. Guy was talking to the boss outside and then left. The boss let me have Friday off because Guy was going to be at the house. But I was informed Guy would only be working at this house Friday and Saturdays. The next time I worked with Guy, I was having a crazy anxiety attack, but luckily Guy took the other participants out for the day. So in total, I only worked with Guy about an hour. I felt that anxiety and depression for the rest of the weekend. And before Guy worked at the house again, there was a house meeting and it was decided that Guy was banned from working at that house, even after more things came out about what he has done. And the next one is titled, "Male Karen Speeds and Regrets It." So this was quite a few years ago. One day my kids were skating in a quarter pipe when this truck comes around the corner with a bubba driving. And he sees my daughter come off the quarter pipe, and instead of slowing down, he floors it and rips past my house, still accelerating, while yelling something about, "Keep out of the road, effers." I yelled also, "Slow down!" The following weekend I am out mowing my lawn and I see this guy coming, so I walk out to the edge and try to wave him down to talk, and Bubba floors it again, laughing like a maniac as he goes flying by with his engine redlining. This guy is a nut. So then I go to the hardware store and picked up 3 of those 3-foot orange safety cones and I put a sign on each one of them, "Slow down, residential neighborhood, kids at play." A few days later I come outside and find the cones have been run over. I already know who done it. I am pretty pissed off. Like, I'm really angry, and in that anger I came up with my most brilliant plan. I went to the hardware store and purchased 3 new cones along with cement and steel rebar. I filled them with rebar and cement and let them sit. After the cones were ready, I put them back out in the side of the street by my house with the same 3 signs as before. It did not take long. 2 days later, I'm in my garage tinkering and I hear that damn truck engine revving up as the bubba goes pedal to the metal. I look up just in time to see his truck steer towards the shoulder to run over the cones. And damn, it was a beautiful sight like none I've ever seen before. He hit the first cone with his bumper and the cone fell forward and rotated the base up towards his engine block and actually lifted the front of his truck upwards as his front passenger wheel made a direct connection with the second cone and launched his truck up even higher in the air. The third cone also made a direct hit on his right tire suspension as his truck came down to a screeching halt. There were fluids running out from under his truck and his passenger tire was angled inwards at a 90-degree angle. Bubba was pissed off and started screaming about how I wrecked his truck and how I'm gonna pay. I yelled back and said, "Well then let's call the cops and get them out here to make a report, and you can tell them how you were racing down to the road and intentionally ran over the safety cones, or I can call you a tow truck. Which will it be?" So then we called a tow truck. I never did see Bubba drive down my street anymore after that incident. I was worried he would try to get revenge, but nothing ever happened and we moved out a couple years later. Edit. I did not expect this to blow up like it has. For those of you talking about the legality of what I did and getting busted or sued, let me clarify some things here. So first of all, this happened a long time ago. The legal time limit has expired for anyone to do anything about it in any legal capacity. Also, I consider myself sharper than the average bear, and I did not enact my plan without thinking it through and thinking about the consequences of my actions. I know a thing or two about how the law works. If Bubba wanted to call the cops, I would have gone inside my home and locked the door. If the police arrived, I would tell them through my locked security screen that I don't answer questions and my only statement would be that I only speak through my attorney. At that point, police would make their report and run it up the chain of command. If the state or local prosecutor wanted to conduct an investigation, I would go with an attorney and deny any involvement. They would have to, at that point, decide how much time do they have to try and investigate this matter and what is the likelihood of a conviction. Since I lived in a big city, I'm sure they had a lot worse stuff happening that would be taking up their caseload. And the next one is titled, "Don't Pick Fights with the Army." So, this all happened in the last few weeks. For reference, I'm a battalion level officer in the Army Reserve. While I was getting my master's, I took an overnight gig doing unimportant things. Mostly my coworkers are 19 to 22-year-olds in college or just out of high school. Pay was good and I could focus on my studies all night. I graduated with my master's in 2018, but the job market for my field in my area was hard for a while. I had a good relationship with the owner of my company and the pay was really good. Plus the army has me working in my field, so I just decided to stay. Fast forward to 6 months ago, I have been here 4 years now, every manager or supervisor has nothing but praise for me and I have made 0 mistakes that cost the company any money or time. New boss, good guy, flexible, works with people to get people's schedules they want. But over time, personal issues or something get in his head. I suspect he doesn't like struggling to schedule around my military duties, but who knows? He starts name-calling, being condescending, or ranting and raving at me for unclear reasons every time he sees me. He wants things cleaned up, but is never able to quite articulate what that means and my attempts never satisfy him. One time he ranted at me for sweeping wrong, another time for calling him when nobody showed up to relieve me for an hour past my shift. And the guys on the schedule said they were told they didn't need to come in. When he does manage to give a specific instruction, he will show up the next day and rant and rave and yell that I didn't do it before he told me. Well, now my comfortable, well-paying job is no longer peaceful and I have better things to do than listen to a man-child be angry at the world every day. So I hop on Indeed and apply for a couple jobs in my field. By now I have the master's and 6 years experience doing it in the army, so I land some interviews and within a few weeks get an offer for double my salary. Soon after, as I am still working on the onboarding process for the new company, he becomes enraged that the garbage can is dirty. I kid you not, a garbage can is dirty. I listen to him rant and name call and all that fun stuff, and the next day I roll my eyes and wash the garbage can. He responds by yelling at me some more because I didn't wash it before being told to, called me some names and then threatened to fire me. So I shrugged and wrote up my 2 weeks notice and handed it to him the next day. Turned out that threat was a bluff. He is now very short-staffed and he blew up again. The next day though, I noticed something peculiar on our work app. My time off request filed months ago for upcoming military orders had been denied. I laughed it off because obviously that is a misclick on his part, but nope. I come in for work again and he very smugly informs me that I'll be working through the whole next week. I have military obligations.
I don't care, I denied your time off request.
I have orders from the military, I cannot be here.
Nope, I denied it.
You cannot do that.
Yes, I can. This is what you get for not respecting me and acting like a child. I'm denying your time off request, so figure it out.
Can I have it in writing that you are denying me unpaid time off for military duty? Ladies and gentlemen, if asked for something in writing, a smart man would stop and reconsider. A smart man would actually have realized that well before talking to me, that trying to tell an army battalion that they cannot have one of their captains because a 35-year-old civilian middle manager is being petty is a really dumb idea and is in fact illegal. But my boss is not a smart man. Maybe he once was, but he is now an angry, vengeful, petty man that at this point believes he has won a mighty victory over his enemy. So he puts it in writing and then walks off with a confident swagger, shouting over his shoulder,
"Figure it out."
If you insist. So after my shift I wait for our main office to open and I call the company's owner for the first time since this new boss started. Friendly chat and then I tell him I'm calling just to warn that his manager is trying to pick a fight with the DoD and that I wanted to call and let him know and get it resolved unofficially. The owner thanked me for calling him, assured me that I would of course have those days off and asked me what my perceptions were of the new boss. I gave him my opinion that he was once great but has turned into the most toxic, abusive person I have ever worked for. We wished each other well and then hung up. I don't know what happened next, but I suspect the owner politely and calmly informed him that small businesses don't like their managers picking fights with the federal government, because when my new schedule came out, I had my drill days off and my boss avoided me after that. I am taking a vacation after the drill and then starting my new job as an expert in my field on Memorial Day, working autonomously with clients, and he will remain there, angry, frustrated and stressed. I, indeed, figured it out, boss man. And as veterans of Reddit, Ripe stars, we of course know you never mess with a soldier, or pretty much the military in general.